What's up, college football fans? We are back with another episode of the College Football Roundtable. I am joined tonight by Pop and the gunshots in the background because we like to do our shows outside because that's where football is played. So we live in the country in Texas, and this is what you get. So, with that being said, Pop, I know you always feel like you're just along for the ride. You don't have all of the knowledge and stats and everything that we have. But here you are sitting first place 3-1 atop of the college football playoff bracket for the college football roundtable. You have the best chance to have the best record out of everybody. How does that make you feel?
Well, a little bit better about my misspent youth.
All right then. And coming in at number 2, also 3-1 in the college football playoff standings, is
duck and cover.
I think somebody got a new toy for Christmas and decided tonight was the night to play with it. We got Todd from Todd Talks Sport, or Todd Talks College Football. How cool would that have been if you would have went Todd Talks Sports, and then we would have had Sam Talk Sports and Todd Talk Sports, and kind of would have been a cool little flip.
Yeah, I should have just named it Todd Talks Football because outside of football, I watch golf, and that's it.
So you have an interesting conspiracy that Georgia is at number 3 to guarantee the SEC gets into the semis. You want to talk about that one?
Well, of course. I mean, seriously, when was the last time an SEC championship team won and didn't move up in the polls? Like, it's never happened before. So we had two teams in that game that one won, one lost, and neither one of them moved. So I think obviously it was a conspiracy because they had to get an SEC team to the semifinal. Because you imagine right now if they would have put Georgia at 2 and Ohio State at 3, then it would have been Ohio State and Ole Miss and Miami and Georgia. What if both Ohio State and Miami win those games and then no SEC team? Now, barring that Indiana still has to play an SEC team, but we'll see what comes of that. But yes, I think it was absolutely a conspiracy because it's never happened in the sport where an SEC team won the championship and didn't move up.
Yeah.
When a team in front of them lost. We'll put it that way.
I got more SEC conspiracies coming up here in a few minutes that we'll jump into. And next on the gun range, Mr. Dominic Cressetto. Dom, welcome to the gun range.
Thank you.
Your conference, along with the American, has had a team in the playoffs. You want to give a shout out to JMU and their successful season, although ended short?
Yeah, definitely ended a little shorter than they had hoped, but full shout out to JMU Dukes. Keepsake here that they'll always remember and will have for conference affiliation. So proudly supporting that and sporting that. Hopefully up behind me at some point here soon. But yeah, 12-2 on the year. I think they did an admirable job in the second half. They did not, obviously play all that tremendously in the first half, specifically defensively. I think we saw what Bob Chesney brings to what will become the UCLA offense, though. He's going to be a great signal caller. You can see the size and talent difference obviously was there in that Oregon game, especially in that first half. But even so, he was getting that ball moved downfield, and unfortunately they got into the red zone a number of times and couldn't put it into the end zone to keep that game a little bit respectable in that first half because, they did win that second half. Yeah, Oregon called off the Dogs slightly, but not as much as some people that didn't watch the rest of that game would have you believe. And just as a reminder here, this is an anomaly. This is 2 G5 schools that made it in, but JMU themselves did not keep the other teams out of this playoff. It would have been James Madison, Virginia, or Duke. Those were the options. So just as a reminder, JMU took advantage of the situation, and they're going to pay for it now. They have 11 starters from their offense that will not be on this team next year, as about half of them hit the portal and half of them have graduated. So this is why it's important to let G5s in when they've earned the right to do so with their record, because the P4s come calling with the bag of money, and we can't keep these teams together after one nice run. So that's my argument to keep the group of 5 relevant in the playoff conversation.
Yeah, and it's important to note there's a account out there, and I saw it in passing. Actually, another content creator had brought it up. It's something to do with JMU, how they were trolling Oregon during the entire week leading up to their bowl game, saying how Oregon is JMU is 9-0 against Sun Belt Conference teams, and Oregon hasn't won a Sun Belt Conference game. Granted, they didn't play a Sun Belt Conference, but to add on to that, JMU scored more points on Oregon than Indiana did. So there's that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a couple things you could point to. They're all kind of, less meaningful because most people don't want to listen to them, but they did put up over 500 yards of offense as well, which is not easy to do against Oregon.
I think that the people behind us are watching this show, and every time I talk, they're like, shut up, we want to hear everybody else. Also at 9-2 is Mr. Casey Wick, no relation to John Wick. Casey, how about that SEC bowl schedule?
Oh yeah, they're looking so good. I mean, like currently Tennessee's only down by 20. We're down 3 by the old fight in Illinois. And then I was kind of shocked that Missouri lost to Virginia, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought for the most part with Hardy and everything it was pretty good running back for Missouri this year. Like they do pretty well in bowl season, but the SEC is not looking good when they're going up against the power conferences. So it's been a trend the last couple of years that when the SEC plays in bowl games against competition that is on their level, they do not usually do well. Aside from the playoff teams,
a lot of times people point to, we're so many sit outs and people sitting out for the draft or transferring. Well, you can't claim that you're the best from top to bottom and then say, oh, it's because people sit out that we lose.
Yep.
So, and from deep in an undisclosed location at the foothills of Bogus Basin, Nick Wade from Bronco Nation Updates. Nick, you just had a great charity event for some less fortunate children in the Treasure Valley. Why don't you give us a little talk about Bronco Christmas on the Blue?
Yeah, everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hoping everyone's having a great holiday season so far. We do it every year. We adopt as many kids as are available from the local rescue center, and this year we adopted about 17 kids. We partnered with Boise State, and we threw on a Bronco Christmas over at the iconic Blue here in Boise, Idaho. Very, very blessed to watch the joy on their faces, and it's it keeps me grounded and makes sure that it reminds me of what the season's all about, giving.
And I don't need any introduction. I'm Sam. I'm your host. I'm the leader of this circus, and really blessed to have brought everybody together, and even the ones that have contributed but aren't here tonight. TJ Corman and Jacob Blaymeyer, the Bronco Believer. Really good to have all the people on that we've had on this year, and look forward to next year and maybe even growing the roundtable. But what I want to talk about right now is what are we doing with these playoff bowl locations? You have Miami and Ohio State playing in the Cotton Bowl, traveling 2,300 miles. Whenever the Sugar Bowl would give them almost 1,000 miles closer for combined mileage for each team. And then you have Oregon and Texas Tech playing down in Florida whenever the Rose Bowl is right there. I mean, you got them going 4,933 miles combined away from home, with Oregon traveling 1,619 miles farther than Texas Tech. And then you put them in the Rose Bowl, and that travel time comes down to 1,955 miles. Then you have Alabama and Indiana, again, both schools traveling over 2,000 miles to get to their bowl, really alienating their fan base. And then you have the darlings of the SEC, and here comes my SEC hatred once again. You have Ole Miss and Georgia who have to travel a combined 890 miles, both playing in their backyards on a primetime slot. You would think that one of these guys was the number one seed in the country right now, but no, you got the 3 seed and the 11 seed. No, 6 seed. What season? Ole Miss. Uh,
6.
yeah, I was right. Stop second guessing myself, Pop. You got the 3 seed and the 6 seed playing a primetime spot right in their backyards. Whenever you have all these other teams that are traveling 2,022 miles, 2,043 miles, uh, it's just ridiculous. So, with all that said and done, is it time to get rid of bowl affiliations and start doing what the NCAA tournament does and invite your teams or schedule your teams based on region and not which bowl gets which seed at which time?
I'm going to say no. I mean, I think for Indiana here, playing in the Rose Bowl, I mean, playing in the playoffs is one thing, but for Indiana to play in the Rose Bowl, a traditional Big Ten game. So, I mean, I think it's kind of important for them, whether they win or lose that game. I think it's going to be a memorable experience to be able to say they played in the Rose Bowl. So, listen, we got planes now. So, what's it, 4 hours to get 5 hours, 6 hours to get from Oregon to Miami. Is that probably about right? They don't have to make stops like us and take 3 layovers and, hit a snowstorm in Chicago,
You're alienating the fans by doing that. The fans that would make the trip down the coastline to go watch the Orange Bowl. I mean, you put Oregon and Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. You got Oregon travels 1,099 miles, Texas Tech 1,099 and Oregon 856. And then you put Alabama and Indiana in the Cotton Bowl, and they're traveling 635 miles and 867 instead of 2,000 miles each. And that's not just for the team, but it's for the fans too.
But it's not really about the fans. It's about the TV is what it's about.
That's the only thing I can think of is they want them TV ratings. And if all the fans are at the stadium, they ain't going to get them ratings.
Listen, how many of these bowl games have we watched? This is the first bowl game. I guess maybe the second, because Hawaii had quite the crowd, but they were playing in Hawaii. So, but this is one of the first bowl games that I feel like the stadium has been, I would say, 95% full here between Illinois and Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's obviously playing in Nashville, so pretty easy to drive fans 3 hours. But most of these bowl games haven't even had 25% of their stadiums full. The regular bowl games.
Yeah. Pop had to.
Well, I think part of that too is a lot of these bowl games that have been, weekday 2 p.m. kicks.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic for most people to be able to go and do those down and back trips without taking like 3 full days for work, right? The day before, the day of the game, and the day after. So it's not just like a one and done. But you're right, Todd. I mean, this is all about TV contracts. They really don't need to really put all that many butts in seats. I feel like that's just a icing on the cake when they can sell all these tickets. And the sad part is you've got those scalpers who are making even more money off these fans, right? Like the fans are getting doubly screwed because they're paying high rates to get to where they need to be. And then they're paying upwards of 2 times, 3 times as much as a ticket should cost because they didn't buy them when they hit the first marketplace. And now they've got to get them on a secondary market. That's the biggest thing that makes me mad as a fan is that secondary market is out of control.
Yeah, unless you're in the Cotton Bowl, because it looks like you can buy tickets right now for the Cotton Bowl for $40.
Oh wow!
But you got Miami playing in the Cotton Bowl, and Miami doesn't. Miami could play the bowl game in Miami and have a hard time selling it out. So, so Miami going to Texas, the Ohio State fans, I think, are trying to wait for the Fiesta Bowl, I think, would be the second round game for the winner of the Ohio State, Miami, and Georgia Ole Miss. I think it's the Fiesta Bowl. So I think, some fans like Ohio State are like, we're going to get through this first game and we're going to spend our money to go to the Fiesta Bowl instead, which is on a Thursday night. So that doesn't really make it any better,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Sam,
kind of
if you want it regional, you're gonna have to have Boise State make the playoff so that they'll go to the Fiesta Bowl, because that's honestly made for Boise State. I was hoping that we'd go to the Sugar Bowl last year, but we always get the Fiesta Bowl. So right now, I think what you're seeing is the Fiesta Bowl is in the semifinal game, so that kind of cuts out the West Coast kind of availability there. But yeah, if you want a more regional, Boise State needs to be in the playoff.
no argument here. Well, let's move on and talk about our first game tomorrow night at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern time. You got the 10 seed Miami Hurricanes 11-2 versus the 2 seed Ohio State Buckeyes 12-1, with their only loss coming to Indiana. A lot of controversy surrounding Miami with should they have been in, should they not? I think they kind of laid some of those doubters to rest with their win over A&M in the first round. Miami, though, comes into this one as a 9.5-point dog. The spread still has them at 9.5, with the over/under at 43.5, and it is at it opened at 43.5. It's 40.5 now. So, with ESPN giving Ohio State the edge 70.5% of the time, this one's going to be all about the trenches. Todd, since this is your team, you think Ohio State has a chance to win the trenches, or can Miami get some pressure on Sayin and force him to throw a few more interceptions than the 6 he already has?
Well, I think that they obviously can get pressure. They've shown it against teams all year, so I'm not going to say that they're not going to get pressure. Ohio State has, in some ways, luckily, I hate to say this, but I think it's the right guard has been one of the trouble spots, and we've been rotating positions there. And the kid that played against Indiana for half the game, sorry, I'm watching this. Tennessee just ran a kickoff back for a touchdown to take the lead in this game. Anyways, I think that this change of right guard and putting this kid in is going to be a challenge for him, because both of the guys that have been playing this position have kind of been, neither one of them has been great. So we'll see how they match up against especially Reuben Bain. So I think this is going to be a dogfight in the trenches on both sides. I think Miami's going to have, they're going to be seeing since potentially the second game of the season, the best defensive line that they've played all year in Ohio State. So I think both teams are going to be able to pressure each other, and it'll be who can actually make the plays when the pressure's on. And I mean, we have a smaller sample size of Julian Sayin than we do of Carson Beck. But if you're asking me, I'm going to put my money on Carson Beck to make the mistake more than Julian Sayin based on what we've seen. But again, we've seen about 4 years of Carson Beck. So we know what he can do, and we know he can turn the ball over when pressured.
Yeah. In Miami's path to the Cotton Bowl, like we said, the controversy surrounding them getting in over Notre Dame still stings a little, I'm sure, Casey. But with the win over A&M, does that kind of lessen the sting a little?
I mean, not really. I mean, like, both those games were close. It was a combined score of 4 points. So, I mean, the Miami-Ohio State game is really going to be the gauge that tells you, where they stack up, if they should have been in or shouldn't have been in. But, I mean, it's like Todd just alluded to. If you get pressure on Marcel Reed from Texas A&M, he makes mistakes. If you put pressure on Carson Beck, he makes mistakes. I mean, Julian Sayin, for being as young as he is, has actually shown pretty good maturity and pocket presence for Ohio State this year. Now, they're actually going to play a team that has a pass rush, which we saw in the Ohio State-Indiana game, what happens when you can actually get pressure in there. So it will be a dogfight in the trenches. But
yeah, but even though they did pressure Julian Sayin in that game, but he still had a really decent game. I think he was, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I think he was 21 of 27 for 265, roughly something in that range. So I mean, they did pressure him, and they
On
did.
short throws.
Now I will say I don't know if we counted the last pass as a completion, where it was like a 35, 40-yard pass down the field, and Jeremiah Smith caught it. They stopped him. I think he may have fumbled that at the end. So I'm not sure if those yardage are counted in as 265 or roughly or not, which is to me kind of a yardage that doesn't really count. Like it was a last, a heave attempt at the end of the game, and it didn't score. So to me, it's like wasted yardage.
What are you going to do when all the Alabama players stop transferring to Ohio State, though?
Well, I mean, we have two of them, and they are probably two of the better ones. But remember, listen, it's a give and take relationship here. We had Williams here, and he couldn't make the top three, so he had to go to Alabama and then become the leading receiver in the country. So we like to share players back and forth when we can, but when you have a bunch of 5-stars sitting on the bench, someone's got to go back and forth.
Miami to get to the playoffs. They beat Notre Dame famously 27-24. Then they beat curb stomp South Florida, who was riding a high after beating Boise State and Florida to start the season. Miami put them back in their place 49-12. And then their two losses, Louisville 24-21 and SMU 26-20. Kind of head scratcher of why they would get in over a Notre Dame with those two losses, but they did anyway. I'm pretty sure that the Pitt ranked number 22 at the end of the year, and curb stomping them 38-37 probably helped. So that was their kind of notable wins and losses of the year. Anything stand out to their schedule that would make you think that they don't stand a chance against Ohio State? Anybody?
You kind of want to say yeah, but then you watched Virginia beat Missouri. I mean, so was the ACC really that bad? I mean, it was. Don't get me wrong, but with the top 3 teams in the ACC any worse than the top contenders in the other big conferences? We're gonna find out. I think there's some holes definitely on Miami's defense outside of the pass rush, and especially on the back end. But if you can stop Tony, you can probably stop Miami. Ohio State's got a lot more talent overall, so we're going to find out. I think it's going to be – it's either going to go one of two ways. It's going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be close, or Ohio State's just going to pull away in the second half.
Well, I don't know if you guys know. You might not have heard the news in Texas and Boise and Appalachia, Southern Appalachian down there. But Ryan Day's calling the plays. Shit. Dang it. Help me out with the Heartline. Jeez almighty, I'm having a brain fart here. He's already left in my brain. He's going to be on the sidelines, not in the box. He's going to be on the sidelines working strictly with the receivers. They've got I can't think of the guy's name. They got a new guy up in the box to be the eyes and ears, but Ryan Day will be the main play caller here in this game. So we're going to see what changes are going to be in store with that, because I'm still at a lot of shock. I rewatched the Indiana Ohio State game 2 days ago, and because I like to punish my eyes, and that time where we decided not to go for the field goal, and Julian Sayin ran and didn't get the first down. The play before that, I mean, we were in a single receiver set with Jeremiah Smith out to the left, single coverage, one-on-one, no safety anywhere. It's 5-yard play. Like, why would you not throw the ball to what most people will say is the best receiver in the country, right? Like, one-on-one, it should just be an automatic check and throw a slant right there and boom. And we didn't see that. And they didn't do that. And we didn't see that in the second set of downs either. So I think overall it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with Ryan Day making the play calls versus what we saw with Brian Hartline. So interesting lead into the game. What we're going to see offensively. So I'll be shocked if we don't see a bunch of chunk plays trying to be had. You know, I don't know if they're going to get them, but you know, I think they're going to try for them.
I think that Miami is going to get curb stomped here. I just think that there's too much talent on Ohio State, and I was really surprised that they busted my bracket, right? But I was surprised, and just the fact that the reason that they won A&M was there was a couple technicalities on special teams. But I just don't see Miami having the firepower to compete with Ohio State. I'm on Team Todd now on that side of the bracket. I thought no, and the reason is because I thought out of all those teams, I thought if A&M brought it, they had the best chance to get through Ohio State. But judging from what I've seen from Miami and just looking at the raw talent and looking at the numbers that Ohio State presents, they got just a deeper team, and I don't think this is going to be close. I think they're going to easily cover that spread.
I got a new toy for Christmas. I'm playing.
Did you say welcome to the dark side, my child?
Little off topic, but I think we can all agree that the Pop-Tart Bowl was amazing. It's probably going to be the premier bowl from now until it's going to be the bowl that everybody wants to get into if they're not in the playoffs, because the storyline behind the Pop-Tart Bowl is just fantastic every year. Oh man.
Yeah,
Like
they've done a great job to make it more than just a game, right? Like Mayo Bowls tried to do it, that they never really quite got to that level. Pop-Tarts Bowl has just taken it as far as you can take something like that, and they've done a phenomenal job.
Well, half the people, I mean, a lot of people don't like mayo, but I don't know anybody that doesn't like a Pop-Tart once in a while, you know what I mean? Especially little mini Pop-Tarts dumped on top of the coaches, and
Yeah.
How about
they've by far got one of the best trophies too. I mean, are you kidding me? A toaster that you can toast the Pop-Tarts in?
Yeah.
That's the best, man.
How about what's the BYU coach's name? Did you see him eat that Pop-Tart in a second?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like,
oh man.
Yeah. All right. The history of these two teams. Actually, no, we need to talk about Ohio State first. Their notable wins, obviously season opening win against Texas, 14-7. They got a win against Illinois, 34-16, when Illinois was ranked 17. They blanked Wisconsin, which hasn't been hard to do this year, 34-0. And a lot of people thought that the Penn State-Ohio State would be a top 5 matchup starting this season. Boy, were we wrong. But they did walk away with that one. They put UCLA back in their place when UCLA was trying to make a run, and then, of course, beating Michigan and then losing to Indiana the following week. Todd, Dominic, let's go Dominic. We've been to Todd. Dominic, anything stand out on their schedule that makes you think that Miami's got a chance in this one?
Well, I think the long layoff, right, is one of the things that we've seen in the past. We saw a little bit in some of these bowls. I mean, the game with Coastal Carolina and La Tech earlier today was absolutely horrid on both sides of the ball because both teams had been off for a whole month. Now, neither of these teams is quite that long, although Ohio State has been sitting idly by a little bit longer here. So I think what we'll see, if history kind of predicates what will happen at the beginning of the game, is that Miami may start kind of hot in this game. Not saying scoreboard wise, but moving the ball a little bit more efficiently, firing on all cylinders a little bit more effectively. But I'm still with Nick. I'm with Todd. In the long run, this game, as Ohio State gets warmed up, as they get back to game speed, as they hit people in the mouth, the talent will overcome. And there is far too much talent on this Ohio State roster than to sit there and have this back and forth, bad special teams kicking, thing that we had with Texas A&M. And Miami this past round. I actually thought it was a really entertaining game from just like a true football aspect. Obviously, the scoreboard was notwithstanding there. But as a tried and true like trench warfare game, it was great. Very entertaining to watch. The kicking game was atrocious, mostly due to the wind. I don't think either kicker is as bad as they may have looked in that game. But yeah, I just think Ohio State's just going to be there in the end, and Miami will not be able to keep up with the scoring once that second half really gets going.
The last time these two teams met was in the 2011-2012 season on the September 17th, and Miami won in Miami 24-6. Miami won the very first meeting in 1999 and the Kickoff Classic 23-12, and then Ohio State has won obviously the national championship in the 2002-03 season 31-24, and then September 11, 2010, they won 36-24. So this is the rubber match. Whoever wins this one's going to take the lead in the series.
We have the lead because we have the national championship that they don't. So
it's a good point. It's a good point. It's valid.
And I don't care what Mike Orvin says about that late flag. There was that game should have never went in overtime. If there was replay, it would have never went in overtime. So Michael Irving, shut your mouth if you're listening.
If Michael
Todd's
Irving's
got the belt
listening to this-
out now, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Back at cocaine, and Michael will be there.
Terrible call here in the Illinois-Tennessee first down game. I don't know if you see it.
Yeah,
that was a first down for sure. I don't know what they were doing. Probably Big Ten SEC refs in this game, probably.
That's another thing I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see the conferences lose control of their officials and put them all under the NCAA umbrella. They have enough money to do it.
Well, I tell you, I wonder who is officiating that game tomorrow in the Cotton Bowl. Is that an SEC crew or a Big 12 crew? I'm real interested to find out. I don't know. To look that up. Because if it's an SEC crew, I'm always nervous when an SEC crew does an Ohio State game.
Normally I guess they don't put it on ESPN anymore.
I hadn't seen it, who the crew was, but it's either going to be, I would think more than likely an SEC or a Big 12. They don't generally go down to group of 5 school conferences unless they have, a group of 5 school in there and no one else to do it. So it'll be interesting to see.
It's going to be the ACC's crew led by Jerry.
That's last year's. If you look at the teams.
Oh yeah, it is. Just kidding. No,
I was just say that
would
be
New Year's Eve 2025 between Ohio State and Miami. The ACC crew will be led by referee Jerry Magalanes.
So Miami gets their own conference officials. How does that work in the playoff?
Line judge Jeremiah Harris.
I mean, how does the ACC get their own officials in a playoff game? That doesn't even seem right.
Right?
Huh. Well, I guess if something crazy happens, we'll know what I'll be complaining about next week.
There'll be a ton of penalty flags.
Did he catch that? No. It never touched the ground. Yeah, it did.
If Ohio State breathes wrong, it's going to be a flag.
That ref's going to go over, put a blade of grass on the football and say, nope, touch the blade of grass. All right. Let's see. Casey, you want to give Miami's keys to winning this one? I'm putting you on the spot.
You're going to have to get Malachi Toney involved in a multitude of ways. Probably going to have to run some jet sweeps. The other thing I will say is, and Todd might be able to help me on this one, is who Ohio State has that can match up with Toney. He's too shifty, I think, for downs to keep up with him if they use him in motion. And then on defense, they're going to have to pressure Sayan and hope their corners can, handle Cardinal Tate and Jeremiah Smith. I mean, they both will be playing on Sundays. There's no question there. Yeah, Miami's gonna have to run the ball. They're gonna have to keep time of possession more on their side and be smart with the ball, which may or may not happen. I mean, depends which Beck shows up. So I would say that's their keys. Keep it closed. Don't be aggressive on defense, but not so aggressive you leave your corners on an island with those two receivers. You're going to have to mix your blitzes and bring pressure from where they're not expecting it. And then offensively, Tony's your game plan. Run the ball. Use him for misdirection, and kind of you're probably going to have to dink and dunk the ball just to get down the field with that Ohio State defense. But that's what I would do. I would keep them off balance.
Dink and dunk till they let their guard down and hit them over the top.
Well, to Casey's point, there is so we got Espinoza, who has had a pretty decent year this year. Last year, he was hampered with pass interference calls all year. This year, he hadn't really had any, but he did have, I think, 2 maybe against Indiana, or 1 against Michigan and 1 against Indiana. But then you got Matthews. Espinoza 6'2". Matthews is like just under 6 foot, and I think Malachi Tony's like 5'10". So could be a mismatch with Espinoza just because he's bigger. But I would rather have Matthews on him, I think, because he's a little less handsy down the field, and we've seen Espinoza over the years get tagged with some of these big pass interference calls that are kind of critical downs when. But he only had 2 all year, and then he has 3 like in the last 2 games or something like that.
Well, Todd, why don't you give us the Ohio keys to victory then, while you're at it?
Well, I think the biggest key to victory for Ohio State is they're going to need to be more aggressive in the red zone. This has been an area all year long that it feels like Ryan Day has taken his playmakers off the field inside the 10-yard line. Time and time again this year, we've seen 3 and 4 tight end sets. We saw it in the Indiana game when we were down on the goal line on that one series where we ended up missing the field goal. But on that series, we had 3 tight ends in, and he threw the ball to a third-string tight end in the back of the end zone who did not catch it for what would have been the game-winning score. So I think Ryan Day, if he's going to get conservative inside the red zone, like he's been, and rely on a kicking game that hasn't been as bad as what that kick was the other day, but I just think he's going to need to be more aggressive, and he's going to need to take the ropes off. He's been able to play teams all year long the way he wanted to play, and now I think he needs to open it up and just kind of like what we saw in the Rose Bowl and what we saw against Tennessee last year. Just get the other team off balance, and he's got the weapons to do that. The question is, does he got the guts to do that? And that's where I wonder about Ryan Day sometimes when he gets into some of these situations. Like, he's got the better players. Let them go make plays.
Yeah.
You want my opinion? Sure. I picked Ohio. However, I remember when everybody in the country picked OU. Yes, the Bowl, Boise State beat them in fashion that is played over and over and over again on ESPN. They were outmanned, outgunned, giving up 20, 30 pounds on the line per man. It was amazing that we even stayed in the game. And then we beat them. On any given game, lightning can strike. I think lightning struck for Miami to win the game to get to where they're at now. I think all of the arguments about do they belong in the game or do they not comes back to whether or not we going to decide this on the field, or are we going to have the committee decide it, or just what are we going to do? There you go. Just what are we going to do? And so the Miami's got a chance. They've got a chance. They can come in there. Even though I picked Ohio, I'm not going to kick back on my laurels and say, well, Ohio's got the bench, and it's going to come down on whether Day makes calls or not, or what can happen. Miami's got a chance.
Well,
All right.
I mean, a lot of this. I mean, look, you can look at this game a lot like the 2002 game. Because Miami was the team that was coming in on the returning as the national champion, going for back-to-back. Ohio State had no chance to win that game going into it. And I'll say this, if Miami's going to win this game, they're going to need to win a game exactly like Ohio State won in that game, which was low scoring, because remember, that game ended at like 17-17. It ended up 31-24 because the two overtimes, but the end of the game, it was 17-17. And if Miami's going to win, I think that's the type of game they're going to win. And I actually agree with Pops wholeheartedly that's why we're playing these games, because somebody could pull an upset or play out of their minds, or who knows, an injury could occur, untimely turnover. Those are things that'll, be the difference in all four of these games, I think.
All right, Nick, let's go to you. What's your score prediction for tomorrow night?
I think they're going to cover by. Let's see, what is it? They have a 40. What's it? 40.5 overall. Yeah. I think Ohio State will win. 35-14.
All right, Todd.
Hey, I predicted really close to that. I predicted it was going to be 34-21 on my show the other day. So I'm going to stick with that. 34-21, 20-21 right in there. I think Miami will score a touchdown later in the game to get to that just over 20 or right around 20 points.
Dominic?
I'll go somewhat similar. I'll go 27-13. I think there's going to be quite a few field goals in this one, with the defenses stopping them either within the red zone or just outside, and they'll put some points on the board, but not as many in the end zone.
Casey?
I'm going to say 31-17 Ohio State.
Pop?
I like 24-17 Ohio.
Well, now I got to change mine, because then it's going to feel like we're copying each other.
Oh.
No. I was going 27-24 Ohio State, last second field goal.
God, don't put the pressure on us. Jeez almighty.
I'm going. To be fair, I'll be rooting for Miami because I despise Ohio State. However,
fair.
However, Ohio State's the Alabama of the North. That's the only reason why. But Ryan Day has really made it hard for me to despise Ohio State with the class act he had after the Michigan game, where he didn't let the players plant the flag in the middle of the field. So I got to give it to him. He makes it really hard to dislike him. But I'm not there yet.
Well, I don't want to go off subject because, we got time commitments and stuff. But I will say this. I've been watching Kyle Whittingham the last couple of days here, some of his press conferences, and I don't really know how the hell I'm going to hate this guy, like at Michigan. You know what I mean? Like, he's so damn nice. And, I followed his career, but I never really watched press conferences or anything like that, with him. I've read some stories and seen some like little, things, but when he's talking, man, he's just like that cool father-in-law you want to have, you know what I mean? It's going to be hard to hate that guy. So, but I'm going to have to learn to do it. You know what it'll take? One damn victory, and I'll hate his guts. So.
Hey, quick shout out to Sam. When you saw him quit at Utah, you immediately text the group and was like, hey, do you think he quit to take the Michigan job? And I about responded immediately and be like, no chance. This guy's just done. He's just done with it. He doesn't like the new landscape college football. He's over it. And lo and behold, you were correct, man. So full credit to you, because you were the first and only person I saw say that was why he left. So there you go.
That's because he come out of my loins. He's that smart.
All right.
I did see that they oops, sorry, Sam.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say I saw like Whittingham apparently was at odds with the AD at Utah over NIL funding, so that was a big reason why he stepped down.
Probably
So
that.
it makes the Michigan hire a little bit more sense. It wasn't Whittingham being done with coaching; it was all about the money.
Well, he did say that he was entering the transfer portal, but I don't know the whole story, the ins and outs, so I don't.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you this important announcement from the Emergency Sports Broadcasting Network. Weak constitutions should seek shelter immediately. Pop is about to pop off.
Did you say it was all about the money? What have we been saying on all of these pop-offs ever since it started? It's about the money. It's about the money. We got the players going here. We got the coaches going there. He's quitting for this. He's quitting for that. He's going wherever it is because it's about the money. We talked about the evil cabal, the triple of evil. You've got the ESPN. You've got the NCAA. You've got the big power conferences, and it's money, 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 money here, money there, money everywhere. Now we got bowl games. Oh, nobody's going to want to watch that bowl game. It's not going to make any money, so they're not going to play that next year. And who wants to watch this bowl game? Because it's put on at this time. And who's going to travel here and who's going to travel there? Then everything boils down to the money. And you've got, oh, this is a SEC conspiracy because of the travel time. Everything boils down to the money. Well, here's one more thing you ought to put in the money. And remember what it is that's going to cure this. You got to break up those power conferences. You got to get somebody to antitrust ESPN and these guys and stop them from putting all the money in. Forget it that it's just the kids are wanting to go to college, and recognize it's $1 million industry, and go ahead and put in what I suggested, a college football draft. Go ahead and do the things that we want to do, but you want to add something else to it to try and get the equity and the money? Why don't the bowl games, all the money earned off every bowl game and every playoff goes into a pool and then gets dispersed amongst all of the colleges equally, so that nobody is getting any preferential benefit, so that nobody is going to be in this, well, we got to vote for this guy to get in there because that's where our money is. Like you say, they're up there to get an SEC team so it plays in the finals, and so they're rigging the way this whole thing is what's the word I'm looking for? How they're ranked in order to get them up into what they're going to. Just take the money out of it. Until you get the money out of it, you're never going to have a college football game, bowl game, or otherwise that's going to be what it ought to be, to where the guys get on the field, they knock the crap out of each other, they score points, and then we know who won the game. The Miamis could go all the way to the top if it's scheduled up on the team. You just never know. Boise State could have went all the way to the top. But you spread that money out to where all of these lower level schools have got a shot at being able to pay that big money for their big horses, and put it on the field and take it away from ESPN and take it out of the NCAA and the power conferences, getting everything. I mean, you listen to all the talking heads anywhere on TV, and they got this solution, that solution, and every solution just makes it harder for anything to happen outside of the power conferences. And I'm like sick of it. Get the money out, put it into a pool and spread it out amongst all of the colleges, and let everybody have some, whether they make the playoffs or not. That's all I got to say about that.
Feel better?
Just so we're all keeping score, Illinois has kicked a field goal to win the football game over the Tennessee Volunteers, 30-28.
You mean the SEC lost another one?
Another
Down
game.
to 2-4.
Sounds like all that money can't buy him at even the low bowl game.
Just means more.
All right. So where were we?
Well, I think we were about to move on to the next game.
Yeah.
All right. You got the number 5 Oregon Ducks 12-1 versus the number 4 Texas Tech Red Raiders 12-1, the only Big 12 team in the playoffs. This one's at 11 o'clock in the morning on ESPN, Central Time, noon Eastern Time. Ducks are a 1.5-point favorite. That's actually grown to 2.5. And if the over-under at 52.5 has shrunk to 51.5. And ESPN gives the edge to Texas Tech 51.6% of the time. With that said, Oregon had to go on and beat James Madison to get to where they're at. They've excuse me. They haven't had too terrible of a schedule. I mean, their best out of conference win was probably Oklahoma State or Oregon State. So take that as you will. They did beat USC 42-27 and Iowa 18-16, and then their only loss to Indiana 30-20. So a lot of people kind of want to see that rematch there too with Oregon and Indiana. I being one of those people, but I digress. Is there anything in that schedule that makes anybody think that Oregon is going to just run away with this one, having been there before, the heartbreak they faced last year, as a one and done, getting in there as a first round bye and then losing? Now they get to basically be the Ohio State, where they get that 12 seed moving forward. What do you think? Discuss.
Read off Texas Tech's schedule.
Right. Oh, we'll get to Texas Tech. This is we're just doing Oregon right now. We'll get Texas Tech.
I mean, at least they played Indiana and USC, who were at least ranked. Texas Tech had BYU twice, which, I mean, if anybody watched the Pop-Tarts Bowl, while entertaining, they did not look very good until the end of the game.
Oh, yeah, I think you could say that Oregon basically shot Penn State's season. You know, Oregon beat them twice. They beat them on the field, and then they let Penn State go to UCLA the next week and got beat again. So, you know, that was the downfall of Penn State right there. I think Penn State was, a top 3 team when they played them. So,
yeah,
I think there were 2.
Yeah, 2. They were up. They were definitely up there. Look, I think Oregon has a couple things in their advantage right now. That they've, first off, they had the game a week and a half ago or whatever, so they did get, you know, and I heard that Dan Lanning actually ran a full scrimmage with before that game just to keep everybody fresh, I guess, you know, fresh into football. You know, with the duck and the motorcycle and the whole 9 yards out there with the band and everything. So I feel like Dan Lanning is not going to lose this game, come hell or high water. And I think that they're getting healthy at the right time. Their receiving core, although Dak Moore only had 1 catch for 5 yards in the last game, I think he's healthier and he's a difference maker. I mean, speaking of Malachi Toney as a superstar freshman, DeCarrion Moore is the same kind of player. So I think everything's kind of lining up for Oregon here. And I think the 2 tight ends are going to be very challenging for the Texas Tech defense to handle.
Yeah. And then Texas Tech, you want to talk about their schedule? They did have the win against Utah, at Utah, 34-10. Their lone loss, that hiccup in the midseason against Arizona State, who, if that game was 2 or 3 games later, they probably missed the playoffs in favor of a Notre Dame, if that happened. Then you had the 2 wins against BYU, 29-7, and then 34-7. So my question is, does Texas Tech really have a shot, or will there be some overlooking going on maybe unintentional because Texas Tech hasn't been there before. Oregon's been there before. They feel like they should be able to move on. That they losing twice in the quarterfinals, probably not what they want to have happen. But if that does happen, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, looking at both these schedules, they're really comparable. I do think that Oregon's schedule's a little bit better. They lost to the number one team in the country, and I'll continue to point at that Arizona State loss for Texas Tech. This is the type of game where Texas Tech has been sitting idle, and I really honestly think that there's going to be that kind of what Oregon faced last year, where they're just kind of sitting and waiting. I think this is going to have the same effect with Texas Tech. And if I pin these two teams against each other, yes, Texas Tech has a lot of money in that defensive front. But I do think that Oregon's defense is better than Texas Tech's offense, and that's going to be the difference in this. So I agree with Todd. I think this is going to be, Oregon's, going to come back and they're going to make up for last year's quarterfinal loss. And again, I think this is going to mirror what they experienced last year. Texas Tech is going to affect them in the same way.
Texas Tech has never beaten Oregon. They're 0-3 all time, with the last meeting 2023 where Oregon went into Lubbock and won 38-30. Previously, September 14th, 1991, in Lubbock, Oregon won 13-28, and then 1992 in Eugene, Oregon won 13-16. So is this the year Texas Tech gets the Oregon monkey off their back? What do you think, Casey?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Texas Tech's front seven's probably as good as anybody in the country. But one thing Oregon has that Texas Tech doesn't have is probably speed on the perimeter. I mean, as Todd alluded to, like Oregon's got 4 and 5 star talent in the backfield and out, and Texas Tech's talented. I mean, their offense was good enough to win the Big 12 for as down as the Big 12 was this year. But I think Oregon's going to stretch them horizontally. And then once Texas Tech starts to get aggressive and tries to stop that, they're going to beat them deep. It's probably going to be more reminiscent of like the end of the Oregon JMU game than the beginning. I don't think Texas Tech's going to be able to keep up scoring points. And I don't think they're going to be able to stop Oregon like they stopped everybody all year long, because the talent on Oregon is just way higher than anything in the Big 12. Like Texas Tech hasn't seen anything like this so far, like all year.
Yeah, Dominic, you and I talked a little during the JMU game with I made mention that it's going to be a long night if JMU keeps giving up the edges. So you've seen firsthand as a Sun Belt fan that Oregon's got that perimeter speed, both offensively and defensively, that a team like JMU wasn't able to keep up with and really dug themselves into an early hole. Do you think Texas Tech has any claim to be able to fix that, or do you think that they saw that tape, saw the perimeter speed, and will game plan to try and get Oregon on defense to cheat in, and then Texas Tech on defense to kind of trust their middle guys to stuff the holes so that their outside can keep contained?
Yeah, I hope they're watching film on that, because I think that James Madison game, like Casey was saying, and you, Sam, that second half is where the game plan will come into effect. Dan Lanning got off that field not at all happy with his team's second half performance against James Madison. They really had success moving the ball on offense finally in that game. And then they started to shut them down a little bit defensively. Obviously, they still had a couple scores, but that one did come off that block punt, so that wasn't an offensive touchdown there in that one. I mean, look, I hope Texas Tech comes out on top because that's who I picked to win this matchup, even though I did take JMU to upset Oregon. I still just think that the defense can win championships. And this is obviously not a championship game, but is it a championship caliber game? I think you saw the cracks in Oregon's team, but I do kind of agree with Casey. Like this isn't going to be the same offense that Texas Tech saw in the Big 12 all season. They are better. They are more talented. They are faster. So I do think Oregon will have some success. How much can those adjustments and those changes in that game plan be effective for Texas Tech early? Because if you get behind the 8 ball, I don't think we're going to see it get 51-34 type of James Madison score. But Texas Tech can't fall behind because they do not have the offense to compete with an Oregon head-to-head, back-to-back, up and down the field all day. But if they can slow down that Oregon offensive attack, then their offense, as long as they're taking care of the ball, I do think they'll have enough success that they can stay in this game. But it has to. This one, to me, it comes down to the very end. It's going to be a defense has to overcome, something by Texas Tech to win this game. I think this one's going to be really close.
Canes Are Cool says Freddie Anderson is as bad as JMU played. Do you agree?
Oh man.
All right. So I think we can all be in agreement that Texas Tech's key to victory is going to be keeping contained, not letting Oregon get to the outside, and Oregon's key to victory is going to be follow their game plan. Don't get away from it in the second half.
Well, yes. And I also think that Texas Tech has got to, Baron Morton has got to play a lights out game. This is a kid, and I've heard a lot of Texas Tech fans talk about the Arizona State game and the fact that Morton was injured in that game and Hammond had to play, which could have led to the loss. Although Hammond came back in that game and scored 2 scores to tie that game before Arizona State drove down the field and won it. But you go back to the Utah game. This was a 10-3 game in the fourth quarter when Baron Morton got hurt, and Hammond came in that game, and they ended up scoring 24 straight points in the fourth quarter to make that game 24-10. But Baron Morton's not been the superstar quarterback at Texas Tech all year. I mean, he's definitely struggled, here and there. And I think the one thing that I really look at is the one drive that really, it cost Texas Tech a game, was when they tied that game at Arizona State, and then Arizona State got the ball with like 2 minutes to go. Everybody that was watching that game knew there was one game plan, and it was to get Jordan Tyson the ball every single snap. And all you had to do was put, some kind of bracket coverage on him, and Texas Tech could not stop him. You go back and watch that last drive. Jordan Tyson had catch after catch after catch after catch to get that drive down. And I just think the same thing's going to happen when Oregon's receivers get out there. They're just not going to be able to handle them. They couldn't handle Jordan Tyson that day and cost them the game and an undefeated season.
It's going to be a grind. It's going to be a lower scoring game, 24-17. I like the number. That's what I'm calling it. And I don't like Oregon. I don't like their uniforms. I don't like the players. I don't like Oregon. They're going to lose. Go Texas.
Are you going to have a 24-17 for Alabama, Indiana, and Georgia Ole Miss?
No, Indiana's going to stomp Alabama. I don't know why Alabama's even.
It's going to be 23-18.
It should have been Notre Dame should have Alabama's spot. Somebody. They don't belong. They ought to kick them out.
Nick, what do you think of Oregon? What are their keys to victory here? You're up there next door.
Yeah, I think it is going to be them stretching the field. That's going to be their way. They may not get a lot of yards up the middle because of that expensive front seven, but they do have the nation's best tight end Sadiq, Idaho boy. And I think that I think if they do have some success in the running game, it's going to be a little bit flashy. It's going to take Sadiq chipping off at the side, and they're going to get some yardage that way. But again, I think that I think the key here is Oregon's defense against Texas Tech's offense, and I just think that that's going to give Oregon the advantage. And if they can stretch this field and go vertical, I think they'll win 28-20.
All right. Todd, what do you got for your score prediction here?
I'm going 31-20 here. I think Oregon will, I guess, comfortably there, 11 points. So I'm going to go 31-20. Oregon wins, and I think Sadiq, a lot like Nick said, he's going to be the difference in this game. He's very, very, like, who on their defense is going to be the guy to cover him? And they're not. I don't care how good Rodriguez is. He's not covering Sadiq all game long in space. So I got Oregon winning 31-20.
Casey?
I'm actually going to go a little higher on the score because I think it's going to start off where Oregon gets out to such a lead that Texas Tech has to start throwing the ball. I'm actually going to go 42-28 Oregon. I honestly, if Lanning's smart, and he is on offense, you're going to do a lot of stretch plays, and then Texas Tech's defense plays a lot of aggression moving downhill. They don't really play in space as well as most teams would probably think with that that front seven talent. And as soon as they start to bite on that, I can see Dante Moore going over the top. And there's, if he places it, there ain't no way going to stop Oregon. There's nobody on the back end of Texas Tech that can run with those receivers.
Dom?
Well, I said I took Texas Tech, so I'm going to stick with them, but I do think it's going to be, like I said, close game. So I'm going to go real close, 28-27, Red Raiders.
Well,
Fun fact, I am a former Red Raider, but not Texas Tech. I think that every program, especially Power 4 program that has the money, is rooting for Oregon hard, because if the front seven shuts down Oregon with the amount of money spent on them, every other P4 program is going to have to spend that kind of money to keep their players, or they're going to try and transfer over to Texas Tech whenever they can. So it's going to come down to that, and I actually don't remember who I picked in this one, but I think I picked Oregon. Hold on, I got to look it up so I make sure I give you the right score. Oh, man.
Wait, didn't Sam have Texas Tech winning the whole thing?
No. No, but I did have him beating Oregon. That was
Okay, I thought you did.
Bronco Believer had him winning the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I did have Texas Tech beating Oregon, getting the monkey off their back. Both teams having to travel over 2,000 miles, playing in Miami. Texas Tech more acclimated to that kind of weather than what Oregon is, being up, coming down from cool, playing into warm to hot. I don't know what the temperature is going to be. I guess I could have looked that up before I started this.
64 degrees and sunny.
Oh, maybe not. It might actually favor Oregon. Anyway, I'm still going Tech, and we're going to go 31-21. Going to be a lot lower scoring game than what the barn burner that some people probably think it's going to be.
I know you like to say the word touching the border of my state.
He still has blunt trauma.
Just to be blunt.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break right here, folks. Pop, you're going to be leaving us after this break. Do you want to give your predictions for Alabama and Indiana?
I think it's going to be 41-10.
Indiana. All right. And Ole Miss, Georgia.
28-23.
Closer to the mic.
28-23.
Who?
Whoever I pick's winning by 28-23.
You picked. Didn't I have that up for you already once? Pop, pop, pop. There you are. You picked Georgia.
Yeah.
All right.
And who's my next one?
That's it. That's the two that you're going to miss.
Oh, and then I'm going to have Ohio's going to lose in the end.
Yeah, we're not. That's for another show.
That's for another show.
All right. So we're going to go on this quick 2-minute break, come back minus Pop. Pop, thanks for your pop off. We all enjoy it. It's what half the people view in to see. So we're about to lose half our viewership whenever you go off screen. We're going to go.
Lord, he's lying.
All right. We'll see y'all back here in a couple minutes. All right. Welcome back. Uh-oh. Half of us are back.
I didn't beat the clock.
I did.
Had to
just
get
barely.
had to get snacks. No free ads.
All right, fellas. Let's move on to the my itinerary back up here. Moving on to the Rose Bowl, you got Alabama and Indiana. Alabama's 11-3, ranked 9, has the number 9 seed. Indiana 13-0, undefeated, number 1 seed. Playing January 1st at 3:00 Central, 4:00 Eastern. In the Rose Bowl, Alabama is a 7-point dog in this one. It opened at 6.5, with the over/under opening at 49.5 is down to 47.5. And believe it or not, ESPN has Indiana winning this one 71.4% of the time. Ty Simpson versus the Heisman winner, Mendoza. So let's discuss this one, fellas. Whose quarterback is going to reign supreme? The 3,500-yard passer with 28 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, or the Heisman-winning 2,900-yard passer with 33 touchdowns and 6 interceptions?
Well, that is a great question. And I think if you're asking me, I think this game lines up pretty well for Ty Simpson to have a pretty decent game throwing the ball. Now, we have to start off by predicating here today that it looks like there could be some serious weather, at least at the start of this game. 70% chance of rain at around 1:30, which is about kickoff time for this game out there in California. And it does look like it's supposed to, dwindle away by, end of the game, but we definitely could be seeing first half weather. So that's going to be real interesting how that's going to affect these teams in this game. But I think Ty Simpson, man, he plays really well against zone defenses. Indiana runs a lot of zone. I think Ty Simpson can be effective. The question is, can his receivers catch the ball enough? Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
Little shout out to Ryan there because he can't catch anything this year. Well, at least enough.
He probably would have been safe in 2020 then, huh?
Yeah. He was definitely safe in 2020. But yeah, he's had a less than stellar sophomore season here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These two teams are meeting for the first time, so that I don't have any history to give. But Alabama's notable wins came against obviously Oklahoma to opening round, avenging their loss, their 23-21 loss earlier this season. They beat Georgia 24-21. They beat Missouri 27-24. They beat Vanderbilt 30-14. And they beat Wisconsin 38-14. I only throw that in there to point out that Alabama didn't shut out Wisconsin like Ohio State did, so they really don't stand a chance. If situationalness was a thing. Then you had they beat Tennessee 37-20. So they have a lot of ranked wins under their belt, but they also have a lot of questionable losses, mainly Florida State 31-17, and then of course the curb stomping they took Georgia 28-7 in the SEC championship game that most people thought should have knocked them out of the game. Anything in their schedule give you guys any reason to suggest that Alabama just can't hang with Indiana?
I don't see anything that
Not
says
that they can't
hang with them.
All right. What is Alabama's glaring weak point that Indiana is going to be most likely to exploit?
Well, the one thing you got to look at the stats is, John Mateer had 300 yards passing in that game against Alabama, which, since his injury before the Red River shootout rivalry, whatever, he hadn't thrown a 300-yard game in a while. So I'm a little concerned, on the backside for Alabama. Can Fernando kind of match that? I think if Fernando has a 300-yard game, I think Indiana's winning this game.
Yeah. I think the way I stack up how Indiana's played all season is this is a championship caliber team, right? They've won the Big Ten championship. They look like they're on pace to at least get to the championship in this one. And I just don't see that same type of roster build from Alabama. I'm not saying they can't win the game, but I just don't expect them to win the game. This is a team that we talked about possibly not deserving to be in this field in the first place. And we think that, some people out there think that they may compete in this game. I'm surprised the spread is as small as it is. I would favor Indiana quite a bit more here in this game. Again, the only thing that gives me any pause about that is how long Indiana's been sitting while Alabama got essentially a tune-up game. And they probably got one of the better tune-up games, right? To go on the road to Oklahoma and get a victory isn't easy. But I just don't see Indiana losing this game in the end.
Indiana less proven with their schedule. They got 63-10 win over Illinois, who just took down Tennessee earlier this evening. 20-15 win over Iowa, the 30-20 win over Oregon, and then their Big Ten championship win over Ohio State. Then their questionable losses against the reeling Penn State team, close wins, I should say. They didn't have any losses. 27-24 to Penn State. They Old Dominion to start the season, 27-14. Dom, you could probably shed a little more light on that Old Dominion win. Is that a just first game jitters kind of deal, or is Old Dominion that good?
A little bit of both. I mean, Signetti was at James Madison. Old Dominion had seen Signetti and what type of offense and defense he has run in the past. So, they came probably a little bit better armed than some of the other teams. You also had Colton Joseph, who is as good or better as a running quarterback than he is a thrower, who's in the transfer portal. Watch for him to get to a big name school here in the offseason. So I think it was mostly the star quarterback running all over the place and not something Indiana was necessarily built to defend. You're not going to have that with Ty Simpson at the quarterback position for Alabama. So it's just one of those kind of perfect storms that a team lesser than Indiana could have very well been on upset alert. Obviously, Indiana is a better team than most, so they took care of business in the end. But that offense for Old Dominion, which now we got to remind everybody, they're the 10-win team. That's a pretty good team there in ODU in the end. But yeah, something that probably caught Indiana a little off guard to start the year.
Yeah, you're gonna have Alabama's running back Jam Miller against Indiana's linebackers Aiden Fisher and Hardy. I'm not going to even try to pronounce the other guy's first name. I'm going to highlight. I'm going to try Roliha. Yeah, someone can chastise me that in the comments. But run game versus linebacker core. Who's going to come out on top of this one?
Todd said it perfectly, guys. I feel the same way though.
I think the thing here for Indiana that I think is a major deal going into this football game is the loss of Stephen Daly at the defensive end position. This is a number 2 in the country in tackles for loss, number 1 in Power 4 conference teams tackles for loss. Listen, some people said that this is not a big deal, but here's what I can tell you for sure. Indiana is not built like in Ohio State or Alabama. They do not have 4 deep guys sitting on the bench that can play this position, or other teams that are stacked. Indiana is a transfer portal built team. They don't have great depth in the second and third team, and there is nobody on this team that's going to replace Stephen Daly's production. And if you go back and watch the Ohio State Indiana game, and you just watch the 27 throws that Julian Sayin threw in that game, you will see number 8 in 22 of the 27 plays that you'll see him within 2 steps of Julian Sayin, like all day long. He was right there in, play after play after play. He was a game wrecker. And I just don't see how they're going to replace this guy. Someone on TikTok told me they're going to move one guy over to this guy's spot and da-da-da-da-da. Listen, when you start doing that, that takes away the effectiveness of your defense. And this is the most effective player on their defense. Like, he is you don't lead the country in tackles for loss and say this is not a guy. It's like taking Reggie White off the field. I'm not saying this guy's Reggie White by any means, but I'm just saying this is a giant loss. And even Kirk Signetti has said when he's been asked, he does not have an answer for it, at least in the press conference. And if Kirk Signetti doesn't have an answer, that means he doesn't know, because he's an arrogant guy. And when he wants to come out, like, he's not going to come out like he's going to be, oh yeah, I have 7 guys on the bench that can play this position. Just wait till you see him. He's not taking that stance on this. I think this is a huge factor for this defense for Indiana. I may be overblowing it, but I'm telling you, this kid cannot be replaced, and he is a game wrecker. So, What do you think of that, Nick?
I've been saying it all along. Signetti is just that type of coach who he can literally squeeze blood out of a turnip, and there's just something about his style and getting his players um, to go all in. He's done it in multiple stops now. So that's why I've been kind of a believer in him in this Indiana squad. This is going to be a pretty good test for them going against the bluest of the blue bloods. But I just think that he has that intangible to get the most out of his players, and they're really good, by the way. But I hear you on the injury, but I just think that there's something about what Signetti does with his group of guys that just gets them motivated. They are, 13-0, and it's hard to win in college football. And they've done it against, Oregon and Ohio State. In their own division or in their own conference, and they're both still in the playoff. And I believe after these quarters, they're still all three going to be in the playoffs. And I just think I like their chances against Alabama here.
Alabama's last appearance in the Rose Bowl was Nick Saban's final game. They beat Michigan 27-20. Lost to Michigan 27-20. Yeah. And then Indiana's running back, Roman Hemby, is one of two FBS active players with 3,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in his career. So that's going to be one to watch there. But Alabama's 2-0 against Heisman winning quarterbacks, beating Gino Torretta from Miami back in '92 Sugar Bowl, and then Kyler Murray with Oklahoma in the 2018 Orange Bowl. So some storylines to look there. Can Alabama keep it up, or is Indiana doomed? So score predictions. Let's go, Todd. Alabama, Indiana.
Well, I'm going to probably go off based on what I've heard so far. I'm going to probably be the one to pick it opposite. I'm going Alabama here to pull an upset. 31-28. I did have Oklahoma beating Alabama, and I had Oklahoma upsetting Indiana in this spot. I do think I just am a firm believer in this game that the experience of being in Alabama and the lack of experience of being in Indiana in the Rose Bowl is going to be the difference, and I think Alabama's going to pull it out. 31-28. I don't know that I'm really rooting one way or the other. Like, I'm not a Big Ten homer. I'm like, Big Ten. I quite frankly, I like to see, teams beat the SEC. But in this particular one, I don't know that I can go Indiana here. I'm going to go Alabama.
All right. Nick?
Yeah, I think they do have a common foe in the schedule, and that's with Wisconsin. Alabama beat Wisconsin 38-14, where Indiana beat Wisconsin 31-7. I think that 7-point difference is going to play out in this case, and so I'm riding with Indiana, even though if they go all the way and win, I still lose to Pops. I'm going with Indiana in this game, 35-28.
Todd, did you give a score? I've kind of tuned you out.
31-28.
All right. Sorry.
Yep.
Casey.
I think I'm going to go Indiana 27, Alabama 24. This isn't Nick Saban's Alabama team anymore. Like, on the lines, that's where the biggest difference to me is. DeBoer is running the same offense he had when he was at Washington, and apparently you can do it with players that are 3 and 4 stars versus 4 and 5 stars. Simpson's going to get his yards in, but their defense just. If Oklahoma hadn't self-imploded in that game, it would have been a much different. I don't know what what happened to halftime in that game, but apparently they forgot how to coach in the second half. So I think Indiana's going to pull it off. I think it's going to be a close game though.
Dom?
I'm going to go the opposite way. I still think Indiana's going to win, but I think it's like 31-17. I just don't think that Alabama is built for a run this year. I think Alabama's kind of a team that, like, maybe next year they look like Indiana throughout some of the regular season. We'll see. That's not a hard line prediction, but I'm just saying I just don't see Alabama going on any type of run further than this year. They were kind of lucky to get in. They performed admirably by not giving up in Oklahoma, but they're going to run into a better team this time around in Indiana. I think, defensively, Alabama may have a little bit of success. I just don't see them being able to keep up with Indiana's offense on the other side of the ball.
Yeah. I watched Alabama and Oklahoma, and I saw two teams that don't know how to put together a full game, and Indiana does, and they've proved it all year. Granted, they haven't had the same schedule that Alabama has had, but I still think that Indiana's offense is going to shoot lights out, and I'm going 45-24 Indiana.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Sugar Bowl. Ole Miss, the 6th seed, 12-1 versus number 3 Georgia, 12-1. It's kind of crazy that these two teams only have one loss whenever we've kind of really been down on both of them, or at least I have. Georgia seems to be playing to the level of their opponent a lot instead of just getting up and blowing people out. I don't know if they just want to make games close or not, but it is what it is. This game is at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN on New Year's Day. Ole Miss is a 6.5-point dog. The over-under, 56.5, and that's actually down to 55.5 now. And ESPN gives the edge to Georgia 60.1% of the time. We have a familiar name on that list, Mr. Chambliss. He was at
Ferris State.
Yeah, there we go. It was coming to me. I was about to say Ferris wheel, but
two-time back-to-back national championship.
Yep.
Ferris State.
And he's got 3,298 yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions to Gunnar Stockton's 2,691 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Quarterback play is going to be key in this one, I believe, in order for whoever's going to come out on top to come out on top. Ole Miss has 2 wins against Tulane, 1 in the playoffs, 1 in the regular season. Both pretty good blowouts. Defense only giving up 10 points, while the offense suffered a 4-point loss in production during the postseason. But hey, it is what it is. They got wins over LSU 24-19. Their only loss is to Georgia, so this is a rematch game. They lost 43-35, beat Oklahoma 34-26, and that's basically the extent of their notable games. With that kind of schedule, I don't see them beating Georgia again. I think Georgia's probably going to win this one and probably going to be closer to in the style of the SEC championship game. What do you think, Dom?
Ooh, me first. Well, I have to stick to my guns that I chose the first time around, and that was Ole Miss getting the victory over Georgia for a second time. So I will. Well, I guess Georgia beat Ole Miss the first time around.
Yeah.
So opposite. It's hard to beat. Yeah, we'll go with the other thing that everybody says. It's hard to beat same team twice. I think one of the things that I lean on and I didn't agree with in the first place was the whole Lane Kiffin debacle when he left. Should we hinder this team because Lane's not there anymore? And Lane is an offensive minded coach who has had a lot of success. But to me, when he left and how he left and everything that went on with that, it was more of a rallying point for this team than it was a detriment. I think some of these guys may play a little bit freer and better now that he's gone. I will be honest, though, I was not as impressed with Ole Miss in the game against Tulane as I thought I would be or had hoped to see, as a team that I picked to go farther, even though I would have been just fine with Tulane winning as a group of five guy. But I think that they can get this done against Georgia because, like you said, we've seen Georgia not play to like the UGA standard over the year, playing closer games than they should have. I mean, they, quite frankly, should have been beaten by Tennessee early in the year, which would have not put them in this great positioning in this college football playoff at this point in time had they lost that game. But I don't know. I got to stick with my guns. It's really the biggest reason that I'll stick with Ole Miss. I just think that they could rally around the fact that their coach has left and they're kind of better without him, if you will.
Georgia's notable wins, number 15 Tennessee 44-41, who again lost to the Big Ten tonight. Then they lost to Alabama before curb stomping them in the SEC championship game. They beat Ole Miss 43-35. So this is again a rematch game. Then beat Texas 35-10 and Georgia Tech 16-9 in Atlanta. Georgia's, I mean, they confuse me sometimes because you got Austin P. I always say PA, but it is what it is. 28-6. You'd think that they would have really, after coming off a 45-7 win to Marshall, you'd think they would have put up more points there, especially at home. It's weird how they play. I mean, you got 20-10 to Auburn, 35-14 to Kentucky. I mean, these are teams that they should be blown out. And then 24-20 to Florida. I mean, yeah, it's a rivalry game, but Florida was trash this year. Only 20 points against Mississippi State, who had Texas A&M 28 points on them. It's the games that they've won don't scream national championship. They scream, "Oh, we're going to go out there and we're going to win, no matter how ugly it is." And I said Texas A&M. I meant Texas. I caught myself, but I don't know. I just don't think Georgia has it, even though I picked them, because I don't think Ole Miss has it even more. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, they kind of remind me of Boise State can do this sometimes and play down to the competition. If I want to take it even further, it's kind of like my pro team, the Falcons, and they love to play down. They lose the games that they should win, and they win the games that they should win. They should lose, just like last night. They did try to give it back to the Rams, but this game right here, this game for certain right here makes me. I want to be vocal and say they need to push back the transfer portal because of a game like this. Because in this game, if you had Lane Kiffin still coaching Ole Miss, this is a lock for Ole Miss, in my opinion. No doubt about it. But for a game like this, you look at the stats. Ole Miss is favorable in every single one of them, on all the columns. They check the boxes. The only thing that they don't have is, they don't have Lane Kiffin, and because of the way that where the transfer portal is placed, it created a lot of drama, and Lane Kiffin, does a pretty good job too. There's a song out there that says, smoke weed, talk shit like Lane Kiffin, and that's him. So, but this is the type of game where this screams they need to do something about the transfer portal and some of these dates and the bowl games and how they line up with how this works. If they can do that, then this is a different game. But I think that Georgia is going to pull this off. I think that they'll probably double the spread on this one.
Yeah, I think Georgia wins. It's going to be in the trenches. They got some big guys up there, but I'm just not impressed with their overall performance. And I actually have them going to the national championship against Indiana, mainly because I want Indiana to win, and I know they can beat Georgia. I don't want Indiana to face Ohio State again and have to try and beat Ohio State twice. So I guess that's a compliment for Ohio State. Casey, you have anything you want to add to this one?
I think the biggest issue is going to be, and nobody wants to talk about it, is Lane Kiffin being gone. I mean, when you get into a game where every possession matters and your head coach, who is one of the best at making adjustments throughout the game, isn't there, that's going to be the biggest thing there. I mean, it pains me to say this because I'm not the biggest Kirby Smart fan, but his teams do play really tough football. And Ole Miss reminds me more of like the old school Oregon teams. They're not really a tough football team. They're more stretch you out, vertically and play the numbers game. So I think Georgia's going to run the ball, and they're going to pound on Ole Miss that does not have the depth to keep up. So I think Georgia's going to pull away late in the fourth quarter. It'll probably stay closer to like mid-third. But I got Georgia pulling like 24-17. I know that's been the popular number, but I think that's where it's going to end up.
Ole Miss, Georgia leads the series 34-11 with one tie, and of course the last matchup, Georgia winning. The last time Ole Miss beat Georgia was 2024, actually, in Oxford. They won 28-10. So before that, it was 2016, where they won 45-14. So it looks like Ole Miss either loses by a lot or wins by a lot. There is no in between. So I guess we'll see what happens. I guess the last matchup wasn't a whole lot, but a lot of points were scored. So, all right, Todd, why don't you give us your final analysis on this game and who you think's going to win and the score?
Well, I think Trinidad Chambliss has to have the kind of game he had the first game, over 300 yards total offense. That's the first thing he's going to have to do. Keywan Lacey is going to have a much better game than he had the first time. He had 31 yards rushing in the first game. He did have 2 touchdowns, but he needs to be – I think if Keywan Lacey gets to 100 yards and Trinidad Chambliss gets to 300 yards, I think they win this game. Look, they should have probably won this game the first time they played. Georgia had the home field advantage. The fourth quarter was – I think Ole Miss had the ball for like a total of 2.5 minutes in the whole fourth quarter of that last game, up until the last series where they had a chance to try to tie it up down 8. I got Georgia winning this game 28-23, but I would not be like, I want every bone in my body wants to pick this upset. Like, I feel like Ole Miss can do it. And I know that Lane Kiffin's gone, but Charlie Weiss Jr. did stay for the game, and he is the offensive play caller. And even Lane Kiffin said that, Charlie Weiss Jr. called the plays all year long. So it's not going to be different there. But like Casey said, is it the Lane Kiffin factor on those, a couple plays throughout the game? And that could change this. So I think Georgia probably wins this game, but I 28-23. But let me tell you, I will be once I take my Buckeye gear off on Friday, I'm putting every red and blue and white color clothes I got on. That's going to be my team on Saturday or Thursday, whatever now day it is. New Year's night. We'll call it that. New Year's night. Yes, I will be the biggest Ole Miss fan in the state of Ohio.
All right, Nick, your final thoughts in the score prediction.
Yeah, like I said, I just think that it's kind of like Signetti has a way with his team. I really think that Lane Kiffin adds that dimension to Ole Miss, but he's not there. But yeah, I like I said, I think that Georgia's going to double the spread. So I'm picking Georgia 31-18.
All right, Casey.
I'm gonna go Georgia 35, Ole Miss 17.
I love how you had to think about that, like you didn't know I was coming to you.
Well, one of those things, like it's going to go one of two ways. It's going to be a close game, or it's going to be Georgia running away.
Dom?
Well, we have to look at the schedule and notice that in the last 4 games, Georgia hasn't allowed an opponent to score only 10 or less points against them for the last 4. Now, one of those games was Charlotte, okay, so you don't get much credit there, but the other 3 teams were all ranked opponents. So this is going to be a pretty defensive game, if you ask me. This is going to be somewhat more along the lines of that Miami Texas A&M game, if you ask me, because I think Ole Miss will struggle to score the ball quite as much as they did against a Tulane team. So I don't see a shootout on either side in this one. I'm going to go really low score here, kind of like I don't know, Ole Miss 13 and Georgia 10. I mean, something weird to me is going to happen, maybe to do with the long layoffs as well. But yeah, I just don't see a lot of points with how good these defenses can be.
Yeah, and I think that Ole Miss playing is actually going to help them on offense a little, because now they have, especially a team like Tulane. Yeah, you lost your coaching staff, and you know that they're leaving, but they still beat Tulane in relatively the same fashion that they did whenever they were a full intact team. So I think that Ole Miss is probably going to get the benefit here, but like you said, Georgia's defense really coming on strong late in the year, and it's going to be a little bit higher than your 13-10, but I am going Bulldogs. The Dogs are going to win this one 21-17. So, all right. Well, fellas, I said this last week. I enjoyed having y'all on the show. We might do a semi-final show. I'll get with y'all later this week, see if that's something we want to do. Looking at Todd, he probably wants to do it, especially if Ohio State wins.
I will do it either way. I mean,
so Todd and I actually talked in this spring. We're going to cover some spring ball. We're going to do a UFL show, so that's something for y'all to look forward to. If anybody wants to jump in on that, even if you're a viewer and you want to jump in on that show, shoot us a DM. We'll be happy to set you up on the screen with us. We got bourbon, beer, and basketball coming. I think we've got Casey might show up for some of them. Dom, I think you're in on some of them whenever you can make it. Nick's going to join in on us. He's going to be our resident. What do you call that, Nick? The beer you drink?
I'll be at NA.
NA, non-alcohol. I knew that. I could have said, yeah. So if you want to come on and support Nick for his sobriety, then come on and support. Watch the show for him, cheer him on, and maybe he'll rub off on some of us other ones. But that's bourbon, beer, and basketball. That's starting January 7th. Todd, you have any final parting words for the fans that tune in just to look at you?
Well, we appreciate that. But no, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited right now watching USC and TCU play, so as we get over the next tomorrow at noon and 3:30, and then we'll get to 7:30 or 8 o'clock, whenever that kicks off. And, I'm looking forward to 2 great days of football. I mean, we didn't talk about, the other matchups that aren't these championship, but I still think there's some interesting matchups to see tomorrow. Vanderbilt and Iowa, Michigan and Texas, and so it's going to be an exciting day and a couple days, and it's great. Now, I did want to say one thing before we get off of the air. I think D2 gets screwed. Poor Ferris State had to win their national championship while other games were going on against them. Division III gets their own night. FCS gets their own night. Division I gets their own night. We got to get D2 to get their own night so we can all watch these games, because no one got to see Ferris State, and they're a good football team, exciting to play, and obviously Trinidad Chambliss came from there. So we need D2 to get their own damn night to play this championship game. Can we all vote for that?
I'm gonna make a
Yay.
pod pops off for next week. Nick, you have any final thoughts for your adoring fans?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be plenty of salty snacks during your bourbon beer and basketball. So, so just looking for, companies out there that offer the spirits and the salty snacks, come online, be a sponsor, and, get viewed in some of these awesome shows. I would like our viewers out there, if you're watching the replay, watch it right now. I'll be putting each one of these gentlemen's contacts in the description. Follow them. These guys are great guys. They're great to network with. I love doing these shows with them. So there's going to be plenty more entertainment. So follow everybody that's on the screen right now, and follow our channels. And no matter where you're at, if you see, we're really good at marketing out there and getting these plugs out. So if you see any one of these outlets out there, give them a follow. It's great share, even if it's not in your conference or anything. If you love sports like I do, it's real great, good to follow everyone. So, but I appreciate you having me on this show. Really enjoy it.
All right, Casey, you want to let your fans know that you finally found your cereal bowl after Notre Dame ran away with it.
Yeah. We talking about Pop-Tarts, man.
Pop-Tarts.
I mean, it's been a wild year. I'm ready for these playoffs to get going. I haven't really watched as much college football. I kind of agree with your dad on that. Like, money to a certain degree has ruined the tradition and pageantry of it all. I miss the days when the kids were actually student athletes. Like now, aside from a few schools, like the kids they're semi-professional. The degree is a formality. I mean, we know SEC, half of them don't even go to class. It's just a matter of somebody, putting their name on a paper and whatnot. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I'll chime in with the basketball stuff. I just got work stuff going on for the first show. Hopefully, I can make it. But yeah, man, let's do all this, and hopefully 2026 is even a better year for college football, and hopefully the NCAA can get their balls back and actually have some authority in the sport instead of everything going to the Supreme Court over lawsuits. And it's I think that's where it all started to go downhill, was the whole NIL lawsuits over former players saying they lost money when but that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yeah. Dominic, your team's out. Your Sunbelt Syndicate team is out now. They had a heck of a year. What are your words of wisdom to cheering for the bad guys now?
Yeah, well, speaking of balls, I'll show this off one more time. I mean, I am not a James Madison fan, right? I did enjoy my time when I got to go up there and interact with their fan base. The reason I own that is because it may never happen again. They may change the rules, and our shot is even longer than it's ever been. So I think hopefully those fans enjoyed the run that they had while they had it, because, again, we're seeing what's going to happen in the portal. With all that being said, but yeah, I mean, I'm still enjoying college football just like Todd, Nick, and Casey, and certainly Sam, who's put this all together. So, no matter what happens with this sport, I'll be here. I'll be a fan of it. Are there some things that we would all like to be corrected and made a little bit more streamlined? Sure. But we all love the tenacity, the chemistry, the camaraderie that comes along with this sport. And for that reason, I don't think any of us are going anywhere.
Yep. All right. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the College Football Roundtable. We'll be back, I'm sure, for the semifinal preview and be able to talk a lot more of the different bowl games, probably, since we only have 2 games to cover. But like Nick said, follow all the socials. They're going to be in the credits whenever I end the stream here in a minute. My credit video is going to go through. Everybody's social media is on there except for, I think I got Mr. Wicks on there now. I'll have to look and see. If not, he'll have to get it to me so I can. But Nick, you have that thing, doallthethings.com. So if y'all doallthethings.com and follow everybody, like, share this, the replay out so that others can look at this and follow as well. Let's build a great community. And next year we'll come in a lot earlier in the season and stay a lot longer. So y'all, thank you very much for being on the show. Pop, you're watching inside. I know you are. Thank you for everything you do on the show. And until next time, y'all stay safe.
Well, I'm
care.
glad the Arsenal is quieted down behind you.
Yeah, me too.
All right, guys.